Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt that quiet, unspoken tension, as if there's something they're not showing you? A flicker behind the smile, a truth wrapped in charm, intellect, and perfect control. You sense it, the hidden weight they carry, the shadow behind the light they tried to project. Carl Jung once said, "Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is." He believed that what we hide the most often defines us more than what we reveal. But what if you could gently open that shadow? What if, with just 3 questions, subtle, almost innocent, you could glimpse who someone truly is beneath their polished mask? Tonight, we'll uncover those questions. But before we do, consider this. Why did Jung believe people lie the most when they're trying to appear good? What secret experiment did he conduct that made his patients reveal their deepest, hidden selves? And what happens when you ask the wrong question, the one that awakens the shadow too soon, before the person is ready to face it? Stay with me, because what Jung discovered next would forever change how we see every human relationship, including the one we have with ourselves. In the early 1900s, inside the quiet corridors of the Burghölzli psychiatric hospital in Zurich, a young psychiatrist named Carl Gustav Jung began to notice something unsettling. His patients spoke with reason, logic, and composure, but beneath their calm words, something trembled, a flicker of emotion that didn't match their tone. There was a crack between what they said and what they felt. Jung began to realize that behind every carefully chosen word, behind every polite smile, lived an invisible world of fear, shame, and desire. He called this hidden force a complex, and emotional knot formed around a truth the conscious mind couldn't bear to face. And it wasn't only in his patients. Jung saw it everywhere, in his friends, his colleagues, even in himself. Every person, he believed, carried within them a secret counterpart, a shadow self, silently shaping their choices and relationships. The shadow, Jung wrote, is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. No one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. In other words, the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge don't disappear. They grow stronger in the dark. To truly know someone, Jung discovered, you must look beyond the persona, the social mask we wear to survive. He saw that most people never meet the real person behind that mask. They only meet the performance. And sometimes even we don't meet our true selves until something or someone dares to ask the right question. Jung's great revelation did not come from theory, but from an experiment that looked deceptively simple. He called it the word association test. He would sit across from a patient, look them calmly in the eyes, and speak a single word: mother, failure, guilt, love. The patient had to respond instantly with the first word that came to mind: It sounded like a game, but Jung was not listening to their answers. He was listening to their pauses. Every hesitation, every stutter, every flicker of emotion revealed something buried deep in the unconscious. One young woman responded quickly to most words until Jung said, "Father." She froze. Her breathing changed. Then she whispered something meaningless, trying to move on. But Jung had already seen it, a storm behind her silence. Within days, her dreams and fears unraveled into a story of resentment, grief, and guilt she had never dared to speak aloud. Jung began to realize that the truth of a person isn't found in what they say, but in what they can't say. The unconscious always leaks through, in tone, in timing, in tremors of emotion. This discovery changed everything. He understood that our shadow speaks through the cracks of our language, through the words we avoid and the feelings we suppress. From then on, Jung used questions not as tools for conversation, but as mirrors, reflections that reveal the face beneath the mask. Years later, he refined this experiment into something far subtler. 3 simple, disarming questions that could open the hidden doors of the psyche without resistance or fear.
Jung understood that truth cannot be forced. The more directly you ask someone to reveal themselves, the more their defenses rise. That is why he created questions that felt harmless, conversational, yet slipped past the walls of the ego and reached the unconscious directly. He called them disarming questions because they bypassed the intellect and spoke to something deeper. The first question was simple. What do you find most irritating in others? At first, it sounds like gossip or casual reflection, but Jung knew irritation is never random. It is the echo of our own denied traits, the qualities we secretly despise because we see them in ourselves. Everything that irritates us about others, Jung wrote, can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The person who hates arrogance may secretly crave confidence. The one who condemns dishonesty may be hiding their own fear of truth. Each complaint, Jung realized, is a confession disguised as criticism. The second question was, what kind of person do you admire the most? This one uncovered the opposite side of the shadow, the light we have forgotten. The people we idealize are mirrors of our lost potential. The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances, Jung said. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Admiration, to Jung, was not about envy, it was recognition. When someone says, "I admire those who speak fearlessly," they are not describing another person. They are describing the courage they buried long ago. The third question was the most intimate. When do you feel most misunderstood? This one opened the final door. To answer it honestly, a person must step into the fragile space between how they appear and who they are. In that moment, the mask slips. The privilege of a lifetime, Jung wrote, is to become who you truly are. Through this question, he watched people soften, tremble, and sometimes fall silent, realizing for the first time that their entire life had been an attempt to explain themselves to a world that never truly saw them. Jung discovered that these 3 questions, irritation, admiration, and misunderstanding form a triangle of truth. Together, they reveal not who we pretend to be, but who we have always been beneath the disguise.
Modern psychology continues to confirm Jung's century-old insights with striking precision. What he once called the shadow is now echoed in studies of projection, unconscious bias, and emotional regulation. Neuroscience has shown that our brains are wired to mirror others, a phenomenon known as mirror neurons, revealing how we unconsciously absorb the moods and behaviors of those around us. When Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, he was describing this same invisible network long before science could measure it. Recent research on personality and emotional sensitivity builds directly upon Jung's foundation. Psychologists studying highly sensitive persons, or HSPs, have found that their nervous systems process emotional and social cues more deeply than average. Jung would have recognized them instantly as intuitive types, individuals who feel the undercurrents of the collective psyche more vividly than most. Their heightened empathy makes them capable of profound connection, yet also vulnerable to carrying the emotional shadows of others. Therapists today use methods that echo Jung's work, though they call them by different names: shadow work, internal family systems, schema therapy, and parts integration. Each of these approaches seeks the same goal Jung once described: to bring the unconscious into awareness, to make the hidden visible. As Jung famously warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Modern psychology has proven this again and again. Our lives are not ruled by logic, but by the unseen stories we carry within. Every unexamined emotion, every unspoken fear quietly shapes the choices we make and the people we become. The more we deny these forces, the stronger they grow, and the more our relationships mirror what we refuse to face. Jung saw the human psyche as a vast inner landscape, a world made of symbols, opposites, and living archetypes. To understand why we hide parts of ourselves, he mapped this inner world into a clear framework. At the surface lies the persona, the mask we show to the world. It is the version of ourselves that smiles when we are angry, that stays polite when we want to scream, that blends in to be accepted. The persona is not a lie, but it is incomplete, a necessary disguise that allows us to survive in society. Beneath it lies the shadow, the part of us we push away. It holds everything we find unacceptable: envy, aggression, shame, but also forgotten strengths and wild creativity. Jung believed that our light and darkness are inseparable, and the more we reject one, the more distorted the other becomes. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. To face the shadow is to reclaim our full humanity, the part that feels, wants, and fears. Deeper still is the anima and animus, the inner opposite, the balance of masculine and feminine energy that shapes our emotions and desires. When denied, it projects outward, coloring our relationships and shaping attraction, resentment, and love. Jung saw this inner union as the key to wholeness. At the center of all these layers stands the self, the organizing principle of the psyche, the source of balance and meaning. The self is not the ego, it is far greater. It is the quiet voice that calls us toward integration, toward becoming whole. Through the three disarming questions, Jung discovered a way to bypass the persona and touch the edge of the shadow, opening a dialogue between the ego and the self. This was the beginning of what he called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who we truly are.
When Jung's patients began confronting their shadows, something extraordinary happened. Their dreams changed. The monsters that once chased them began to speak. The dark landscapes of their nightmares slowly transformed into places of meaning and revelation. Jung realized that the moment we stop running from our darkness, it starts to guide us instead of haunting us. Integration, he called it, the sacred process of weaving light and shadow into one living whole. To integrate is not to erase pain or eliminate flaws. It is to hold them in awareness without judgment. It is to say, this too is me. Jung observed that when people embraced the parts they once feared, jealousy, rage, shame, they began to uncover hidden gifts within them. Anger became assertiveness, fear became intuition, sadness became empathy. The energy once trapped in repression became the fuel for creativity and authenticity. He wrote, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." Integration is that choice. It is the moment when a person stops being a victim of their own unconscious patterns and becomes a participant in their evolution. Jung compared it to alchemy, the transformation of base metal into gold. The base metal is the raw, unrefined self. The gold is consciousness. Those who resisted this work often projected their shadows outward, blaming others for what they could not face within. They grew bitter, defensive, trapped in repeating conflicts. But those who dared to look inward, who accepted the darkness with honesty and compassion, began to move with a new kind of peace. Jung said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life." Integration, then, is the art of recognizing those disguises and finally seeing the face beneath them, the true, undivided self.
In his later writings, Jung began to describe the two directions the human journey can take once the shadow is revealed, one toward wholeness and one toward fragmentation. He called this the difference between successful and failed integration. Those who faced their inner darkness with honesty began to radiate a quiet confidence. They were not perfect, but they were real. Their humility came from knowing their own contradictions. Jung called them integrated individuals, people who could hold both light and dark without collapsing into either. They had a softness in their strength, a calm awareness that life itself was paradoxical. But for those who refused to face their shadow, the outcome was much darker. They became prisoners of projection, forever blaming the world for what lived inside them. Jung noticed that these people often appeared righteous, moral, or overly idealistic, yet beneath the surface they were consumed by fear and resentment. He wrote that the greatest danger lies in man's attempt to detach himself from the dark side of his nature. When we deny it, it doesn't disappear. It turns against us. You can see this difference everywhere. The integrated leader listens and learns, while the unintegrated one attacks and defends. The integrated partner admits mistakes, while the unintegrated one hides behind excuses. Integration creates depth. Denial creates distortion. Jung believed that the unexamined shadow eventually erupts in moments of crisis, when the persona can no longer hold the weight of pretense. Successful integration does not make a person flawless. It makes them whole. It allows them to stand in truth without arrogance, to forgive without forgetting, to see themselves in others, and others in themselves. Failed integration, on the other hand, leaves a person haunted by the very parts they tried to bury. Jung often said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Yet for those who dare to look, the reward is liberation, the end of self-deception, and the beginning of authentic life.
So, how do you truly see someone's real character? Jung would say, not through their achievements or their charm, but through their relationship with their own shadow. The way a person responds to their inner darkness reveals everything about who they are. Ask them what irritates them, who they admire, and when they feel misunderstood. Then watch not only what they say, but how they say it. Their eyes, their pauses, their tone. These small signals expose the story beneath the surface. Because in those moments of hesitation, the soul speaks the truth the mouth cannot. To see another person clearly is to witness their struggle between the mask and the mirror, between who they pretend to be and who they truly are. And if you recognize yourself in these questions, if you feel a quiet stirring in your chest as you listen, that is your own shadow calling for light. You are not broken for having darkness within you. You are human. Jung believed that the goal of life is not perfection, but wholeness. To accept that light and dark are two halves of the same self. Wholeness, he wrote, is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. When you begin to see your shadow not as an enemy, but as a guide, transformation begins. Every judgment becomes a mirror. Every conflict becomes a teacher. Every wound becomes an opening through which awareness can enter. Jung's work reminds us that the path to authenticity is not upward toward the light, but inward through the darkness. Only by walking through our own depths can we rise with understanding. So if you find yourself caught between the person you show and the person you feel inside, know this: you are already standing at the threshold of growth. The shadow is not there to destroy you. It is there to make you whole.
If you recognize yourself in these words, in the quiet battle between who you show and who you truly are, take a deep breath. You are not alone in this journey. Every human being carries a hidden side, a shadow made of forgotten fears, buried desires, and silenced truths. But within that shadow also lives your strength, your courage, and your freedom. Every time you dare to look inward instead of running away, you reclaim a piece of yourself that the world could never give you. Jung believed that the shadow is not our enemy, but our doorway to authenticity. The moment we stop judging it and start listening to it, transformation begins. So ask yourself tonight, what do you find most irritating in others? Who do you truly admire? And when do you feel most misunderstood? Let those answers guide you toward the parts of yourself waiting to be seen. I invite you to share your reflections below. Which of these 3 questions revealed something unexpected about you? What did it show you about the person you've been hiding from the world? If this exploration resonated with you, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden layers of the mind, where psychology meets mystery and self-awareness becomes an adventure. In the next episode, we'll explore the dark side of empathy and uncover why the most compassionate hearts often carry the heaviest shadows. Until then, remember, the light you seek is already inside you, waiting for you to turn and face it.